Let's give them something to talk about. I see the energy running out.
We're not so professional that we have to like wait for the sound thing to end before we start talking.
No, we don't.
It could be our
We
thing.
could even talk to the very beginning of it.
Yeah, we see it could that could be our thing to like talk over the sound thing as we do our intro.
Okay, we got 3 on right now. Is our audio working?
Yeah.
Let's open with that.
Sorry, it said 11 a.m. I meant 11. Sorry, it said 11 p.m. I don't know. I put it up yesterday and I wasn't paying attention. We have, we're a CrossFit affiliate, so we don't have a budget for a tech support person. That everything falls on the hands of a
CrossFit coach.
Well, it falls in the hands of the owner, like
or
the jack of all trades, or someone else, right?
Or an electrician or a plumber.
Right. Yeah. I've got a guy out there doing work right now, installing a floodlight for our back area, because that's where we had someone break in, and it puts a camera out there, so I just have it.
Yeah, and it happened to be right in the middle of my class.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. Well, and I also wanted to tell him, why didn't you drill from the outside in? But so my point was that the guy that's doing it is the next Diablo coach.
There you go. He's in the family.
He's in the family.
He comes up. He's like, "Hey, you mind? I need to get to that corner over there,
right in the middle of class.
I'll move him. It's fine."
So we got a class of about 25 people out there doing barbell work with Coach Jamie Lee, and meanwhile I got a guy drilling a hole in the cement.
Just nice hammer drill going at it. Not an efficient one, too.
Right. That's old school CrossFit. It's gritty. Yeah. I asked TJ, I said, "Hey, TJ, you ever drilled cement holes?" Which is kind of a stupid question, because I know the answer. It's like, have you ever cut a stall mat?
Exactly.
I think the question is, how many stall mats?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you own your own snake for the toilet? Yes, I do.
Yes.
I do not rent one.
We need to come up with about 10 or 15 questions just like that.
Yeah.
But the cutting the stall mats is great. I actually had to go to the ER once because I cut myself cutting stall mats. And every time I cut a stall mat, move a stall mat, I literally tell myself, "Craig, you're 60 years old. Stop doing this shit. This is the last time I'm doing this."
Yep.
And then,
there you are.
And then you are in the ER getting stitches.
Or you hire guys to move stall mats, and you're like, no, not like that. Like, you got to snap it like in this. Okay, forget it. I'll just do it.
I was 20 years into this, almost 20 years into this, when someone that came and took our scraps, because you put the scraps up front, and she came and she was taking the scraps, and she brought these 2 blue plastic things. And they're
the grippers?
Yeah, the grippers.
Yeah.
And she's loading them in. She goes, "You don't use these?" And all I could think of was just the blisters, the soreness on the hands.
Yeah.
And so she goes, "You get them on Amazon."
Busted up shins when you drop them.
Yeah, the busted up shins when it flips down.
Throw your shorts away. You can never wear those again.
Yeah.
Stained with
Oil.
tire grime on you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other contrast that I always thought was interesting too, is, we're all about health and fitness and natural foods, avoiding chemicals. And meanwhile, here we are, we're loading stall mats made from, recycled tires.
You're on an extension ladder 20 feet in the air, hanging a rope.
I told him that one. I said, "I swear I'm well, you know why? I can be done for a while as long as the guys next door, they have a scissor lift."
Oh, did they let you use it now?
And they let me, and they said, "You can come use it
awesome.
anytime you want."
That's a gift.
That's super clutch.
So I don't have to go up to a 20-foot extension ladder to change my ropes. And I do it myself. I don't know why I do it myself. I said, "What? You need to find someone to do this." "I don't want to pay someone to do that." Anyway, so welcome, TJ. This is part 2.
Yeah, welcome back.
It's like the Epstein files. We did this once already, and nobody knows what happened.
Weird.
Oh my God. Oh, this is starting out great.
There was a glitch in the audio.
We had I will tell you this, if this podcast isn't good, you don't enjoy it, the other one was really fucking good.
Exactly.
You may not be able to hear it all, but it was good.
Yeah, it's so frustrating is running these things, and everyone knows, anyone that's done this stuff, is you do it and then you play it back after you get the thing, and you're like, "Oh no. And unless we have comments in the chat, because we can't hear how we sound over the internet. We sound great because we're all going through this Rode mixer, and all of our mics sound great, and my earphones sound great, but we can't hear how it sounds out to the public. And if there's one little setting that's off, we've done.
Yeah, last week it was something happened where the Wi-Fi dropped off, and I think it dropped down to default.
It went back. Yeah. Anyway, welcome back, TJ.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking
Glad
the time.
to be here.
Yep. It leaves me a little concerned about your gym and who's running your gym when you're gone.
Yeah.
Do you have?
I'm out. Good luck.
Don't let anything fall apart.
I was supposed to coach noon class today, so I was going to scramble and try to get this done. Then I did. One of my coaches stepped up and said, "I'll cover that class." Can you take, if you said your wife said, "Hey, we've got a trip we've got to make. There's no, got to go help move our daughter out of the apartment we just moved her into, and we got to move her to another one because the lease didn't work out well or something." That was for you.
I'm familiar.
Could you drop everything and leave for a week, say on this Monday, and your gym run as you would want it?
Yes.
Okay.
If my wife is listening, don't go into the comments and say that's not true. But
I'm watching for the comments.
The reality is, when things have happened like that, I think I would assume, like here and like a lot of other folks, you don't get to have a team. You don't get to open your gym and have a team. Mm-hmm. You have people who work for you. You have staff. They have responsibilities. Teams grow over time, right? Like that synergy and that symbiotic relationship and that way to step up. And I am very lucky to have a team of people and members, people who are like, I know I could step in and have somebody step in that is not necessarily a staff member. Those doors will be open. Somebody will be there. Things will keep running. A new person wouldn't really know. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't experience a tremendous change if that were to happen. So yeah, we have a good setup.
I love that. I love that concept about a team. A few 3-4 weeks ago, we had the rare occurrence that the one that I always worry about. Someone didn't show up for their 5 a.m. class, and I woke up at like 5:30 to like at 10 text messages. You pick up your phone, there's text messages that, first thing in the morning, I turn my coffee, pick up phone for text messages, and I thought, oh shit.
Yep.
But the gym got opened and the members got a great workout in. Yep. And it was one of my other coaches had gotten there, fortunately, just about that time. And he runs the Olympic weightlifting class on that day that starts at a half an hour later. And he just basically turned it over to a couple of members in my 5 a.m. class. The early morning class, those people are dialed. Yep. They're on autopilot. Yep. And they ran the class themselves.
Yeah.
And had a great workout and had fun. And then were able, as a result, to give me a ton of shit for the next several days.
Of course. Where's it going to go? That shit's going to go one place.
But I like that because it's because over the years we built it. That doesn't happen when you first open.
No. You have angry people. You have maybe somebody quitting. You haven't built up the equity.
Yeah.
Right.
In the members and the staff. You know what I mean? Like, if you do it for a long time, the equity gets built up, and you get to run the business that you want to run. And if that involves, hey, you got a key, hey, you get to come in after hours because I trust you, and it's good to have somebody here keep an eye on things. You get to make those decisions. It's not corporate, right? And I think that's why we all are here.
That's right. After TJ founded in 2002, been in the business. So 2002, that makes it 23 years of gym ownership, having owned multiple gyms, and then another 8 to 10 years of experience before that. Yeah. Before you opened your gym.
Yeah. That was when you were running around in the city, right?
Motorcycle, pager, messenger bag with dumbbells and bands in it.
How many dumbbells would you carry around with you?
Too many.
That's funny that when he said
many.
That,
when you make that turn,
you know what's
like,
funny?
uh-oh.
This is a CrossFitter too. This is a fitness guy. When he said that on the podcast to you and me, I thought the same thing. I wonder how many dumbbells he was carrying.
Exactly. Yeah. Too many.
Here's the other thing. The other thought I had about that was, why didn't you open? How come you didn't open in San Francisco versus opening in Marin County?
I went. It's a good question. I think if I were to go back at that time, and Allison, my wife, would help me walk through this time frame. I think we're having our first kid, and who I think is actually said she's watching right now, and it was about making life as not easy, but making a gym doable, and having that gym near where we lived was going to make that life much more doable than I'm going to leave the house at 4 a.m. I'm going to go into the city. I'm going to be there till 8, 9, 10 p.m. This gave us the opportunity to, I raised, much to my wife's chagrin, we raised those kids in that gym, you know, so, and we lived right around the corner, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
That is a difficult decision for people to make, just in general, not with respect to necessarily with just owning a business, but also where they work. And the long commute can be, Yvonne and I found this. We did the long commute when we first got married. I would commute to San Francisco, and she was working in San Jose as a hairstylist. And we split the difference. We lived in Fremont, and the morning wasn't bad. I'd get on bar and I'd, read the paper and everything else. Coming home was hard because you work, and same thing, especially if you're a gym owner, you're going to stay late no matter what.
Yep.
You're going to stay late. And that hour home, or hour and 15 minutes home was just like, oh.
We all know folks now. Currently.
Yes, we do.
We all know people working, doing that thing, and God bless them. It takes something. It takes gear I don't have. Yeah, let's put it that way.
In San Francisco, who's the gym owner in Chris Lane, my friend Chris Lane opened. He had a successful gym in San Francisco, and he was living in Dublin.
Oh shoot.
And I remember talking to him about it, and I several times tried to convince him to try to either one, move closer to your gym or move closer to home, because especially as a gym owner, it is harder. It's more taxing. There's more things you have to do. There's the late nights, there's the early mornings. No matter what, you're going to have to do those things and the unexpected stuff. And then it's the time that you're wasting in the, transition to that job. That's the extra minutes on the clock and a chipper. The transition to the movement is just like, that kills you.
Yeah. And that goes into building up that equity.
When
you're around,
oh, right.
And people see you, and that's huge.
That's right. When they see you a lot.
Until you build up that staff, when they see them, they're like, oh, now everything's fine because they're here. Right. Yeah. And, but that just takes time.
Yeah. A question related to that, because this is something I thought about that, after our conversation. I'm actually glad I'm doing this again with you, because I had a lot of things that I wanted to come back to. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and it's somewhat related to this building trust, not only with your staff, but with your community. Do you see, you've been in this since 2002 as an owner, is building that trust and the freedom to be able to take next week off different with the current generation of people? Do you see a generational difference, I guess is what I'm asking, between, say, the people that are our age that we know, and then the millennials, and then the Gen Zs? Is there a difference, you think, in building that trust? Is it a longer timeline?
I am lucky enough to literally have a staff of every generation, right? I don't have a baby boomer, but I have Gen X down to Z.
Yeah.
Right. And all I can think when you ask that question is, man, I've really worked hard at picking the right person. I made my life much harder post-COVID by firing 2 people. I took on all of that responsibility because they were the wrong people. Made my life harder. I'm back teaching 6 a.m. classes. I'm back teaching. I had hired them post-COVID just because it made my life easier, and they were the wrong people. And that's something you're supposed to learn early in your gym ownership days.
Right.
But I've gone through a life cycle a number of times of being a gym owner, right? Being a new gym owner to being a veteran, to being a new gym owner, to being a veteran, to being a new gym owner, to being a veteran. And so I have now kind of realized, I'm like, that person is the right person. They get the door open. They respect the rules. They know the bare minimum of what has to be met. Not, well, I'm going to let my quirky personality overshadow me being 5 minutes late, right? Or I'm gonna, have super high energy and not really be educated on what we're doing here, right? And so those types of things I've gone through a number of times, a number of iterations of those people. And then finally it's been like, okay, like one of the things we talked about the last time I was here, what's my job, right? An owner's job, an entrepreneur's job, make every decision that's the right decision for the business. Every decision is for the business, not your whim, right? And underneath that, you have two priorities: acquire talent, raise capital. Acquire talent, raise capital. Acquire talent, raise capital, right? That is the two broad concepts of running a successful business, right? So we talked about it again last time. There's things I like to do. There's things that I think are cool. There's things that we could, throw out there. Okay, put it through that filter. Is it the right decision for the business? Are you acquiring talent? Are you raising capital? Right? Well, we're going to put a roof deck on because, that would be cool. Okay. Right. Is it the best decision for the business? You're going to be spending money.
Yeah.
Like I joke, my mentor, whenever I have an idea, he's like, okay, who asked for that? You think it's a good idea, right?
Which one of your members?
Okay. Yeah.
I hate that question, but it's so true.
That member who's been here for 3 months, who's like, no shower.
You know what you need?
And you're like,
this would make this place so much better.
You're not open at midnight.
That simplifies it to are they the best person for the business? Is it right for the business versus being right for me? It's such an, I think about some of the decisions that I've made, and I wish I could have back grid, but but I go back to, is there a trap there with the business owner thinking they know better? You know what I mean? Because I think about the decision process. Is it right for the business? And then I build up this huge argument. I love the second question you asked that's one my wife would ask. So he said, "Who asked for this?"
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, no one really asked for it. Here's the owner's dilemma. You and I, and Jamie too. Like, we're passionate about stuff. And so if I go ask a question, hey, what do you guys think about this team sport that's, people are going to love, and it's going to be on ESPN the first year? It's amazing. You get to the fourth quarter. It's like the fourth quadrant. The fans are going nuts. Everybody understands it. We got the scoreboards. Boom. It's all digital. It's good. What do you think about it? Hey, Craig, that sounds awesome.
Totally. Because you're excited.
Yeah.
And they want to
off that energy.
Yes.
Too.
They want to support you.
Right. That's the only dilemma. Which is, again, thank God for our wives sometimes, or that person that you've got as your consultant. Mine, I got my wife, and then I've got Zia Rohrbad, then a counterculture, and I got Jamie, and then I got a couple of my coaches here that'll keep me grounded. And I think that's the important part. It's like, don't be my suggestion would be careful about not selling yourself and then selling others on an idea that might not necessarily be best for the business.
Just another shiny object.
Yeah. And we just got done talking about you get to run the business you want to run. That's one of the cool things. Right? Yeah. You get to make certain decisions.
Yes.
Are those decisions the right decision for the business?
Yes.
That's the one dividing line, right?
You and I we're at an event this one was one of the kind of important moments for me in operating a business, at an event in Atlanta. I don't know if you remember, it was, we got invited down. I forget what the group was.
Yes.
And CJ Martin was there. There were a number of well-known business owners.
Yes, Juliet was there.
And you may have even been the kind of MC for it and kind of kept us on track with what we did.
I think that was Juliet.
Oh yeah, that was Juliet, right?
Show there, yeah.
And it was an outstanding. It was the first time where I really got a chance to talk to people that are at the same caliber all around the country,
right?
And it were just really good conversations. And CJ Martin, we asked something about making business decisions, and I remember CJ Martin's answer that I took to heart was, he goes, whenever I have to make a really important business decision, and it's, going to affect the business, I'll go back and read my mission and values and just review it. And kind of along the same lines, just validating, is this good for the business? And since that time, since he did that, I printed mine. Is it in here? Oh yeah, no, it is. So it's on the I tape it to the inside cover of my journal. And so that I just have it, just because I'm notorious for chasing shit.
Yeah.
I'm the shiny object guy.
Yeah.
And so that same thing was validated by CJ Martin and Invictus as well. And it's not surprising. And you probably go around and talk to some of these other big successful affiliate owners, and they'll probably tell you that, the same thing. Though, I'm sure CJ and like you and others, we have times where we fuck that up.
Yeah. I think it's funny because one of the things CJ, for example, had, which I'll never forget, is his mom was an executive at Costco, and she ran some part of that Costco organization.
Oh, I didn't know that. Karen, that's
yes,
Karen, CJ's mom, Karen.
And she knew. She knew how an organization should run.
Oh shit.
And she did it with this like loving motherly hand in things, but I think she was able to set an example and set a bar.
Interesting.
To be like, that's not the way we would do it.
And she manages,
right?
She manages Invictus in San Diego.
Right.
You go there,
Right.
she's there. Like,
right.
I didn't know she had that experience. Okay, that explains it.
It's the rest of us.
He wasn't just giving his mom a job.
The rest of us. Well, that's
She
the
helped
best
build
part.
that place.
Yes.
And this goes into the thing we talked about last time. What, as an owner, what are you surrounding yourself with? Shareholders, stakeholders, collaborators, right? Knowing each one of those people, right? The shareholders have a connection with you financially. The stakeholders have a connection with you personally. They want to see you succeed. And then the collaborators are the people you can talk about the high level stuff with, who will give you the honest feedback, but they also understand what you're doing. You can't talk to a commercial real estate guy about your gym business, right? You know what I mean? But we can, right? So having this type of relationship is great, but you got to strive to have those three. Life gets way easier when you have those three groups.
That's awesome. It's and so when you're sitting down and you're talking to someone that's going to come work for you, do you have a kind of a predetermined interview session that you kind of know, or is there, do you have secret questions that you ask to kind of give you insight, or is it more of a feeling when you're having that conversation?
I mean, it's probably, unfortunately, more of a feeling.
Yeah.
I also feel really good about laying out what I can do. I can give you, you want to be a career? I can give you a career. Not tomorrow. I'm not going to pay you $100,000 a year, which in Marin County, you want a 1-bedroom apartment, you want to go on vacation and own a working car, it's $100,000 a year. I have proof that I can get you there by my current staff, right? I can get you well past that as well. You got to build equity with me, right? I mean, that's part of the deal, right? I'm not going to trust you with the next 5 people looking for personal training who walk in the door. I don't know you, right? So you're going to come in and I'll prove to you over time, you prove to me, and we'll be on our way.
What does that process look like from first of all, where would you find a coach? Like if you're looking for a coach, do they come to you, or are they coming from within the community?
I've been lucky enough that the current staff I have, they came to me. Nick, my manager, 13, 14 years ago, out of college, needed to do post-graduation hours. And the first thing he said to me was, just so you know, I just want to do the hours. I don't want to work here. I don't want to be in a gym like this. So
15 years later.
Then
that's classic.
2 other people were members. And one of them I went to, and one of them came to me.
Okay.
And then there's one who I'm hopefully hiring very shortly, who was a recommendation. She's in fitness. And we got on the phone and we got together, and it's like, she's vibing on the picture I'm painting. I'm feeling like she's a good person. Personal recommendation, huge.
Yeah.
Right. This is somebody that was her personal trainer.
Yeah.
Big fan. So, but I would, once again, I need you to, if you want to be good at personal training, are you a good first date?
Yeah.
Are you making that date about the other person? That's what makes it a good date. You want to be in the group fitness industry. Can you run a good dinner party? Right? Music too loud, music too soft. You got people interacting with each other. You're not stepping on people's feet. Meaning there's a conversation going on and you walk in and you're like, "Hey guys, it's time to sit down for dinner."
Yeah.
Like, ooh, they were getting into it. Yeah. So that's one of the things that, unfortunately, I don't think you can learn on the first day. And I also think that it's okay to let people make mistakes so you can teach them along the way as well. Right.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you see what happened there. And I'm not being critical. I'm just saying this would be better for you, the group, the gym, if you did it this way. Right. So, and it's fun. I like developing.
Do you have, we do an observe and assist period of time where new coaches come on board and then they have to shadow other coaches. Do you do? And we do it anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months, depending upon the experience of the coach.
Yeah.
Do you do something similar to that?
100%.
Yeah.
Do you get the vibe? I hate to use my kids' term, right? Vibe. But it does encompass so much. Do you understand the vibe here? Do you understand the vibe at 10 a.m. when it's open gym and there's a couple of personal training sessions going on? Do you understand the vibe of the 6 a.m.ers compared to the nooners? Do you understand the vibe of, this whole thing that's going on a Saturday as opposed to a Monday? So they should get enough grace to learn the vibe, right? I mean, what do new coaches bring in? Energy.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're like, I don't know shit. Right. So they're like, but I'm going to overcome
almost
that.
Compensating.
100%. Right. It's like, okay, great. That's unsustainable. I know in 8 months, you will not be behaving like this. And now everybody is like, where's bouncing off the walls Jenny? Well, Jenny's been here teaching 6 a.m. class for the last 8 months. She ain't feeling it anymore. Right. So it's like better to bring it down to a more manageable, sustainable level. And then get to know people. Make it about them instead of you, right? So,
that is so true.
It's understandable. It's I mean, they want people. Everybody wants to be supported. Everybody wants to feel like, we say it all the time, the best hour of their day, and that can be done so subtly, so gently, so personally, right? Where it's like that little thing instead of the big production, right? And that's hard, but that's hard to learn.
The compliment as they're walking out the door.
Yes.
Right. Just as minimal as that. Do a good job coaching, help them get along. And then on the way out, hey, nice job today.
100%.
Simple acknowledgments.
Yeah,
you're making this much progress. You're squatting this much lower. You're moving this much. Whatever.
You seem in a better mood today. Yeah. Last time I saw you last week, everything going well. Thanks for noticing.
TJ said the that 10 o'clock class that we do on Wednesdays, that strong class that my wife, who refuses to work out in the morning, gets up.
Yeah.
Which makes the household interesting really in the morning on Wednesdays.
Is it like a fire drill getting out or what? It's like what? Just try getting out of the house with some kids.
She would have lots to say right now about getting her husband ready. But anyway, that class with, it's one lift and it is popular, but and I have to confess that one of the major reasons of why it's very popular, it's Jamie's not on the schedule a lot. He'll fill in anytime I ask him, but he's coaching that. And one of the things that all of our coaches know, and then all of our members know, is that Jamie cares, right? So he connects with all these members. So and I know today, all those people in there today, I know they all feel like that was fucking awesome today. And it's the connection that he makes. How do you tell that? How do you discern that in an individual? Is there a certain type of personality, a coach that or personality, or maybe previous job they did where they, where they worked in the service industry or something. And I saw someone, was it Jason Fernandez, was talking about, how the, especially in, 4 or 5-star restaurants or Michelin grade restaurants, like the service level is above and beyond. And there's a certain sense of caring that the individual has. Is there something you look for that an affiliate owner could look for to discern that ahead of time? Do you have a test, if you will, in your mind of how that happens?
My manager, Nick, tells a story of when he was under a year in, and one of my other coaches at the time, he was talking to him and he was like, oh my God, there's knowing all the cues of how to get somebody to do this well. And then at the same time, like in my head, trying to think of, what's the next thing we're going to do? And then, and the guy was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what? Just ask them how they're doing today.
Yeah.
Ask them, talk to them about anything but this shit, get them interacting where this 1 hour a day, it's about them, right? They're probably managing 18 other people's experiences outside of the gym and their family and work and all these things.
So damn true.
And be just gentle with the cueing and the technical part. Be intentional with the connection part, right? And once again, I think that, and he's a perfect example of, when I told him the path, when he finally came to me after he did his internship hours, and he was like, so, maybe I want to work here now. I don't, after he did his 200 hours or whatever.
After he said, I'm not
exactly
gonna do this.
Right. Exactly. When I laid out the path for him, where I'm like, here's what you're going to do. And you're going to be doing personal training. You're going to be teaching classes. You're going to be someone here. You're going to be someone they trust. And he was like, why would these people trust me? He's like, I know nothing. I'm 22. I just got out of college. I have no life experience. I have no training experience. And I said, because you want to be here, because you care.
Yeah.
Because and I would argue introverts can show that they care. Extroverts can learn how to care. Some narcissists can learn how to fake caring, right? Like you can find that genuine gear somewhere with people. And I also nowadays too, I give a lot of runway, maybe too much to someone who wants to be a coach. Maybe, cause I'm like, I got lanes. This might not be the right lane for you. Maybe you're more on the programming, managing open gym side. Maybe you're more of an upfront group rather than individual side. Let's try some things out and let's see what works, constantly checking in. Is this we're communicating here. Are you cool with this? Yeah. Because if they're like, wait a minute, you told me I would be doing this. What do you mean? Now it's like, oh, now we got conflict.
Had to pivot because it didn't seem like it was
and it's my job to be like we like to joke, we're always salesmen.
Yeah.
Right. We're always selling. We're selling, our partners, we're selling our staff, we're selling our, collaborators, shareholders, and stakeholders on our ideas. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So that's part of it. The non-communicating gym owner, we know them, they'll reach their limit. They'll reach their ceiling, and maybe they're okay with that. They're like, I'm running my fiefdom this way. And I'm not interested in progress or growth. I'm interested in running the show I want to run. People have been phenomenally successful with that, right? Curves died for a reason, right? Curves, the fastest franchise growth to 10,000, the fastest to 0, right? Straight up, straight down in a short period of time. They refused to progress. The franchisees were like, hey, you think maybe we could try some new things or expand? No, this works.
The model.
Nope.
The burger model. Nope. The McDonald's.
Nope.
That's right. Someone read the McDonald's book or something.
Yeah, but if you go to McDonald's, they try out the chicken wrap.
Yeah.
They introduce the salad.
That's a good point.
They go into the partnership with Krispy Kreme. They do things that are a little outside of,
innovate a little bit from time to time. Yeah.
Outside of the rule book, if you will. So something to learn.
Do you do regular reviews with your coaches that are, on a schedule, and, you go through certain criteria? Is it that formal, similar to, say, a corporate business?
No, I mean, we do multi-year check-ins with how's it going? How you doing? Financially, how you doing? A lot of it is me sharing with them my plans, me sharing with them where I'm like, I think they like to see that I'm engaged, that I'm thinking about the future, and it's always about when I have that, where I'm like, here's what I'm forecasting. And this could be in a group dinner, this could be one-on-one, but I'm like, here's where the business is. Okay. Here's where we came from. Here's where some projections I'm making as we move forward. And here's some big, hairy, audacious goals that I'm throwing out there in general that I'm thinking about. And I'm sharing this with you guys because I think all of this can benefit you guys in some way, shape, or form. We don't have to get into the specifics. We can, if you want to have that conversation. When I follow back around with some people and I share things and they're like, hey, I was really excited. You mentioned this and I was excited about maybe being a part of that. And other people, when I sit down with them and I'm like, so what'd you think? And they're like, fine. I'm like, fine. Like, you don't have it. They're like, no, sounds good. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You seem to be on board in some weird way, but okay.
It's reassuring to hear you describe that process, that's not really a process, is, the informal connections that you make with your coaches throughout the year is kind of an ongoing thing. I've came out of the corporate world,
right,
where it was, and I literally carry around guilt, like, oh, I need to do semi-annual reviews instead of just annual reviews. And that, and I've used formal spread. Jamie's had to sit through them. We use a formal spreadsheet, and I actually developed like numbers and metrics to kind of, evaluate how are they in front of the class, how are they in front, outside of
I used to do it,
and to quantify. And I never went back to those things.
Yep.
And I don't, like, I went through the process, and I was more happy that I just went through the process than I was actually learning anything about my book.
Yeah.
The only thing is at the end of them, I would set goals for the coaches in terms of what I wanted them to do with their education, or what I wanted them to do with respect to their business, challenge them a little bit. But that part can be done. That would be done through a regular conversation. Hey, have you thought about, maybe you ought to, and you know what? It's time to get your level 3. You've been sitting on that level 2 forever.
Totally. I mean, I not that recently, but fairly within the last year, I happened to be reviewing some video footage. Somebody was like, I lost my keys. Do you think? And I'm like, let me see if I can see where you put them. And
we've done that. By the way, get a camera system, because that's the shit you're going to do.
Get a camera system. You are crazy to not have a camera system.
Finding keys, finding wallets, and counting reps.
Exactly. When I looked at this video, the coach is just sitting on a bike. And I was like, what? Right. And I, during a class that they were coaching. And so right away, pulled him in. Hey, you got 15 minutes today? Yeah. Came in, just brought up the still shot, flipped the screen around, right? And be like,
what's this about?
And they were like, oh yeah, that's bullshit. I'm like, yeah, it's bullshit. But the question was,
that's great.
The question was, are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's not you.
Kind of defuse any defense mechanisms.
What's going on? Right. Not like, today I heard you were sitting on a bike. I don't want to say who it was, but we don't do that here. Like getting all, I mean, like it or not, you have personal relationships with everybody in this building.
Yes.
And that's just the way it is. And some of us are welcome and open to that. When I had 4 gyms, I was desperately trying to become corporate. I was desperately trying to be a entrepreneur, a CEO, right? Because that's what everybody told me I had to do. That's what they're like, you cannot grow. You cannot have growth. You cannot without systems and all that stuff.
Yep.
While that is 100% true, you do get to do it your own way, right? You do get to do that style of management your own way. And mine works better with caring about the individual. It seems to have paid me back thousands of times over rather than going a more, if I try to be corporate now, people would look at me like, what are you doing? What are you even saying right now? You know, it would be so weird, you know, but you have to make the mistakes. You got to try on some suits. You got to try on some hats, see how they feel, and be like, oof, that's not me.
And I think in the early days, it's important, probably in the first 3 to 5 years, that you have a corporate structure until you get to know the nuances of your business and interpret it ahead of time. So, you know, one of the things I go to affiliate gatherings or something, and then someone will get up and talk, and you know, one of the experts that they have, and I'm not saying the experts are wrong, but you know, the term that got tossed around just ridiculously overdone was KPIs.
Right.
And I confess that I have a master's in business, and have been in have owned multiple businesses, not just this one, and worked for years in the financial services industry. And I have to confess, I was at a meeting, and I forget how it was, maybe 10 years ago or so, and someone said, yeah, you have to know what your KPIs are. But when they go into, and I'm, you know, looking around, and I look down and go to my phone, Google KPI. And I didn't know what KPI stood for.
The other day I looked up SEO.
Yeah.
I was literally on a call with somebody, and I typed in my computer.
Me. That's so good.
I was like, oh, huh,
That makes sense.
Okay, all right, good. I'm gonna use that today. Yeah,
That's like the ultimate irony too.
yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, you probably should know that, but okay. I do know it is search engine optimization. I didn't know it was SEO though. You know.
So yeah, and I thought about that, and as people talk about it today, I couldn't tell you what my key performance indicators are. What I can tell you is at the Wednesday 10 a.m. class, when it's, you know, one lift and it's Jamie Lee coach, and that fucking class is full. I can tell you my 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. are full. I can tell you that, you know, and this comes directly from the person that's writing the checks, my wife, that, you know, whether or not we have enough cash in the bank account to cover all the bills for the month. And I can tell you by my taxes at the end of the year, whether I'm making more or less than the previous year.
And you were a multi-gym owner.
Yeah.
You went down that route, right? And that's just like I did. You went and you tasted that experience, right? And you were like, I am not thriving.
No.
I am not thriving.
No.
This business is arguably not thriving. There could be things that were thriving inside of that. Meaning, maybe the people coming to those gyms that you owned it were thriving more than when they were owned by somebody else, or that when you weren't there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But is it the best thing for the business? Right.
Yep.
And it was the best thing for the business. Was you shrank, you minimized.
Yeah.
Same thing with me.
Yeah.
Same thing with me.
Do you think it's a is it a, I don't want to say curse, but is it a phenomenon of the small gym, or is it some, you know, I do know there are people that have multiple gyms and they do it successfully, but I think that's an entirely different model where they have maybe found someone that is in that location that is them, basically, or their version of them. That's the person that cares. Do you think CrossFit's limited in terms of scale? You know, they've had multiple discussions about how do we get, so the best affiliate owners to have multiple affiliates, and how do we figure out how to charge them for multiple affiliates? There was one CrossFit in Copenhagen. I found, and I remember going to some function or somewhere, and they said they had 10 locations. I looked them up. I'm like, holy shit. And that's just when I was owning multiple affiliates. I'm like, oh, I want to beat these guys. They had 10. You know how many they have today? 0.
Right. Oh, right.
0.
Right.
They're done.
I think, not to jump in on what you were going to say. If you want to finish that thought,
kind of my thought being like, is CrossFit or CrossFit affiliates, are they limited by that? In other words, it probably doesn't, like, CrossFit can't grow its overall business by looking to affiliate owners and saying open multiple locations. Is it limited by that?
Okay. I can do things now. So I don't think you have the ability to grow after you tried it once.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, I would argue that if Diablo had an opportunity to acquire something nearby, it's worth taking a look at, because you did do it once. You were a different person. You were a different business owner. Arguably, you ran a different business back then. And now you look and you're like, huh, okay, I learned, right? I can learn from that, and I can try it again. That is absolutely, and I would argue the person who tried it and failed is a better option than somebody else, you know, because they're like, okay, now you got to want to grow. You got to want to, you know, in trying to not share too much, I think I'm back into growth mode. I don't know what that means.
Right.
I have been sharing it with my staff. I have been sharing it with my shareholders, stakeholders, and collaborators. I have been testing the concept. What do you mean growth? Well, that could mean anything. That could be within the four walls. That could be virtually, digitally. That could be in many different ways. But I over the last year have Kung Fu walked the earth, being like, what's my next play? Am I fine? I have been saying to anybody who would listen from 6 months ago to 18 months ago, man, if every week of my life could be like this week, I'm golden. This is perfect. And then I started to get the itch. I started to get the, am I reaching my potential? Am I doing everything I can do with, I mean, 10 years ago, 4 gyms, 2 little kids. Now I'm an empty nester, right? I mean, my wife working in the business, she now has her own business that she runs, her own career, right? So now you come home at night and you're like, just talking about your day rather than, do we have enough money in the account to write this check, or we have, right? So we have space where she can share her stuff. I can share my, so the dynamics are so different. I would argue back then, I didn't have a team. I had a staff. Now I feel like I have a team, right? So there's many things that have changed that give me that confidence to say, I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know how, but I think growth is my next chapter in some way, shape, or form. And
that's awesome.
I got a lot of options at 56 that I didn't have at 36 and 46. You know, I have things that there's a lot of people out there that if I do grow in some way, shape, or form, I would say to them, I don't think you could do this at 30, what I'm doing right now. I had to learn, acquire, you know, fail to get to be able to do this now.
Kind of gain more perspective on all the different avenues, or
like Joe Lacob. I'll use this example. I just read this. Joe Lacob buys, if you will, but invests $50 million in the Valkyries, the women's NBA team, right? Just got valued at $500 million. How long has it been? 18 months, 2 years, right? He couldn't have done that without the Warriors. He couldn't have done that without being a real estate mogul for decades. He couldn't have done that without the partnerships, Peter Guber, all these things. He arguably maybe would have done what another WNBA team that they bought it for 30 and now it's worth 40, right? You know, but he knew all the things to do, right? Like that was kind of a guarantee. I kind of feel that way about me. I kind of feel like this is almost a guarantee in my growth.
It builds internal confidence. Right.
Joe Lacob's going to lose his $50 million. That's lint, you know? So same thing for me. Like in my growth, what am I going to lose? I'm not going to lose my house. I'm not going to, my kids are no longer going to talk to me. Like, what am I risking?
You get real perspective.
Yeah. That's tough in 30 and 40.
At 30 and 40, the decisions you make often, and I know because I was in those situations, were almost in panic situations. Like, oh shit,
100%.
Do I got to, thinking about, do I need to go back and get a fucking job?
Scary.
Scary stuff. And those decisions, some of them, sometimes it's real motivating and it gets you driving, gets you going. It's also awful. I remember having a phone conversation with calling Chris Cooper, who I met at that thing in Atlanta. He was at that deal in Atlanta with us.
Great dude.
And I remember calling him because my wife had told us we're not gonna be able to pay the bills. This was in like 2015 or something like that. I remember 2015, 2016.
Still with Alamo.
Yeah, with Alamo.
With Alamo.
Yeah, and Alamo was the issue.
Right.
Was they raised rents on us really fast through long story short, someone acquired the property and then, read the fine print, they got a huge tax assessment because of the increased property tax value. The previous owner owned that place for 50 years. And then boom, now all of a sudden the tax got, and they could pass the tax on to the tenants. Huge bill. And, that was like, rent went up, everything up, we're in trouble. And I remember calling him going, man, what do I do? Remember, I know where exactly, I can picture where I was driving when I had that call. And he was so great. He goes, let me call, because I'm going to have a little mastermind meeting. I'm going to call like 10 of my best people. We're going to get on the phone. We're going to talk about it. And I'm going to come back to you with some answers. He was brilliant. But those decisions were really like I was gut wrenched for a long period of time, for a year before. And then finally we got out. We were able to get out of Alamo and recoup our loss. And a lot of those members now are members here.
2015, 16, maybe 17, and I feel totally comfortable talking about this now. I would drive every morning when I would leave my house at 4:15, 4:30 to go to one of the gyms, sometimes waking up and driving through the Redwood High School parking lot, which is behind my house, not knowing which way I was going on the freeway, right? Like, is it Tuesday? Am I going south? Is it Wednesday? Am I going north? To get to one of the gyms, because I felt like I had to be touching everybody some way, shape, or form. So I was like, 4:15, I got to be at the 5:15 class at, where am I going? Right. I had a panic attack. I was driving through the high school at 4:30 in the morning. I had to pull over and get out of my truck and lay on the ground in the middle of this parking lot.
Wow.
Just stare at the sky. And I was like, I can't believe it. It's like you read about. Am I having a heart attack? And I was like, I know I'm having a panic attack, but this is where they're going to find me? Really? Like laying in the middle of this parking lot, right? Like
5 o'clock in the
kids
morning.
are going to start pulling in here for school. And
ladies, that is how guys think, by the way.
100%. This isn't the way I was supposed to go down. Butch and Cassidy. So,
yes.
It must have been like 3 months later, we had our big inner gym competition back when we were doing those things, right? We called it TJ's Rodeo.
Yes.
Okay.
I do remember the rodeo.
And somebody came up to me at that event and they were like, oof, you got something on your head. And I was like, huh? And I couldn't really see it. And I had whacked the side of my head on the frame of my truck at some point, like a few days earlier. And so I was like, oh, wow, it must have been a bruise. And then it got nasty. Like a week later, it turned into like a rash, and it got like pussy, where I started wearing like a knit hat all the time. And then it, like a week after
close to your brain, dude.
Exactly. It all like flaked off. And so I was like trying to hide this. Like I would wear white t-shirts because I had like dandruff and flaking, all that stuff. 6 months after that, I went to a dermatologist for my first ever dermatology checkup. I was like, this guy's just going to be ice cream scooping chunks of flesh out of me. I mean, I haven't been a dermatologist in my life. And I got a clean bill of health. He said, anything else? And I said, I had this thing on my scalp. And he took those wild goggles, and he looks and he goes, oh yeah, and shingles. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm like 50. He's like, did you have like a traumatic event? And I was like, no, no, I don't want to talk about it. That I tell that story because I don't know if that event in my life was unnecessary or necessary, because I can go back to that time now and be like, man, if I could survive those days, whatever risk or challenge or thing, at 56, you get perspective. You get that gift of being like, okay, I made it through those days, those things that I was doing that. And arguably that era was kind of really self-made anxiety. It was all intrinsic. It was all me building stuff up that was unnecessary. And, but I feel like a little bit of a gift.
It's the successful entrepreneur's trap.
Yeah.
Because the qualities that drive us to do the things that we're doing independently outside the corporate world, just building our own businesses, are the same behaviors that put us in that situation. They take on one more thing. Yes, I can do this. I can do that. Yeah. You know what? Not only can I do it, but I can do it better than those guys are doing it over in, Los Angeles.
Right.
I'm somehow comparing myself to that gym, or, I often like to compare myself to Invictus. I want to try and do what they're doing. I want to try and build what they're building. I want to be known like Invictus is known.
Sure.
And that's beneficial for business growth and the people that are around you, but it also can be extremely
anxiety inducing.
Yeah, sure. Anxiety inducing.
But
it's fascinating.
And what I wasn't doing, which is what I do now, which we talked about last time, I asked for help. And when I say ask for help, you don't need to use the word help.
No.
It's, I'm thinking about this thing, or I'm having this struggle, or I'm not sure how to handle this. And now I have this legion of people to go to and be like, I'm thinking about red t-shirts. And they're like, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, I won't do that, but I don't know why. I thought I was okay. You saved me from making that decision. Or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Because now
you become better at doing that.
You get better at every decision.
Yes.
Instead of like, I got to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to launch it. I'm going to beat people to market, if that, whatever that term is. I'm going to be first to react. I'm going to set the tone. Everybody's going to follow me after. Oh my gosh. Like that mindset of needing to be that, it's so unnecessary. So other people have made the mistakes. Other people have had the experiences. Other people have really good perspective on your problem. You just got to kind of put yourself out there and walk around, look around and be like, right? Am I right? Am I wrong here? There's no rush,
Something that a lot of CrossFit gyms did well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a number of successful CrossFit gyms did that were in the competition space is they started crafting programs for sale for competition athletes. CompTrain was, I think, the first one the first big one that went out there, and now he's got his own app and he's divorced himself from CrossFit. But then a number of others did it. I remember CJ Martin, Invictus, telling me he had a 7-figure business that he built, doing programming. He still, I think, quite successfully just sells that. Mayhem is smashing that space. We did the same thing with PRs all day. We're like, okay, well, there's platforms like SugarWatt and Beyond the Whiteboard and others that will distribute your programming. Did you ever get into that space? And first of all, do you write your own programming for TJs?
So, okay. So, in that time frame when we were, as you guys know, we chose to go the putting on events.
Yes.
Right. Business.
The more expensive, cumbersome, time consuming.
100%. It was like
capital intensive, labor intensive version. Yes.
We're going to go the nonprofit route, as I like to call it. Right. We're going to give back to the community. So, that of doing that, you start to get to that crossroad of, what's your center of excellence? What are you doing well? What do you, are you really going to branch into another thing? Right. Because since we went that route, that opened up that door for other people to step into that different place. Right. Of, okay, now we're going to be on this side. Right. And you don't know, am I going to be, am I going to mine for gold? Or am I going to sell the shovels? Right. So that kind of concept. And as you guys remember in those days, the dragon was going fast and we were all grabbing the tail.
Yeah.
And we were like, I'm getting dragged by this thing. How far up the dragon can I climb? I'm never going to be able to steer the dragon. I'm never going to be able to control it.
That's right.
Right. But I'm trying to get a better seat. Right. And, because it was moving so fast, I felt like if I were to think back to those days, and it was like, I wake up one morning and I'm like, maybe we should get into the programming space. Let me do a little research. Oh shit. There's like 5 people in there. Right. Like, oh, I'm late to let me stick with what I know. Right.
Right.
Yes, we do our own programming. I feel like it's essential for us to do our own programming. I feel like for me, the smallest comment to Nick, who does our programming, to say, just so you know, it's little grumblings that we've been doing deadlifts multiple Saturdays in a row. I'm just hearing it out on the floor. It's like, oh, good to know. Right. Like just those little,
that's what I do to
just
Jamie.
the little things, right?
The same thing.
Where
yeah,
if I was
there, I might hear something.
Right. Exactly. Where it's, somebody mentioned something about more partner workouts, just so you know, like maybe think about that, right? Those little things that you have the ability to do in a small business. I don't know. I think that's huge. Am I going to create my own CRM platform? Am I going to, Mark Bell print my own t-shirts? I mean, these are roads that I went down where I'm like, would this be more efficient? Would this be better? Right. End of the day,
better for the business.
Not better for the business. Right. What am I doing? Why am I up at 2 a.m. researching t-shirt printing presses? What am I doing? Right. So yeah, but I did it. What would it cost to, Mind Body was for sale. Or looking to be acquired at some point. And one of my clients came out to me and was like, our firm is in the running of,
wow.
Our VCs. And he's like, what do you think? And I was like, well, I don't know. Is there any way I can get in on that? How would that work? And then he's like, oh, you don't want anything to do with this. Like, no, this is like you do what you do. Like, don't worry about this. But I was constantly thinking, oh, I got to come up with the new greatest thing. I gotta get ahead.
We thought about that too. Creating our own software.
Yeah. So other people did it. Good for them. Boy, that's a whole other podcast.
Get them on here. Because there's a whole bunch. Like there's the people that did programming. Rob Wolf, right? Well, obviously wrote a great book that that helped him and propel his career. But then didn't Nikki Valetti do Pike 13? She did. Right. Yeah, she did software.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
All of these. And of course, the one that got it right was fucking Bill Henniger that started an equipment company.
Yeah.
And now it's probably, he's worth 5x what CrossFit's worth.
Yeah. And he
was good at that.
He knew that. Got out of the army, he had an army of tradespeople in his family, right? He had people who were welders and people who were sewers, right? His first product were rings, right?
Yeah.
That literally, I believe it was his family members who were industrial commercial sewers. So he had access to this type of situation, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Not arguably, I think he would say this, not a forward-facing guy. Not a, I'm going to
charismatic, out front.
He was like, analytic guy.
Yes.
Knew, saw, the pulse, was able to seize that thing and be like, I'm also in an area where I can do this, right? God bless him. I mean, crushed it.
Yeah.
Crushed it. Hasn't gone much outside of his center of excellence.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
He could go into, I don't know, car building or
I just saw Rogue
commercial construction.
I just saw Rogue supplying equipment for it was like a rodeo event where these guys were running.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was the Red Bull event. It was it was a rodeo. It's like Cowboy Fit.
Yeah.
Cowboy Fit.
And it was all the Rogue logs. They're throwing sandbags. They have Rogue everywhere. So
basically you do cowboy job, and
it was like an obstacle course with something.
The fitness side of a cowboy.
Not outside of center of excellence.
Yeah.
No,
it's not. It's just
right
up his alley.
I mean, it's not building airplanes.
Yeah.
Right. But
not innovating outside of his space.
Exactly. We just brought in these things called functional trainers from Rogue. They are cable machines built into a squat rack.
Becca Voigt had one down at her gym. I saw. I was like, oh,
right. And for for our community and our goals and our mission, it was perfect.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw it,
you have how many of those do you have?
3
of those.
Yeah.
And how do you do that class? Did people just rotate through, that station, then that station, then come back to that station, or is it just open gym access for that?
No, it's in our programming. So if you had a strength and conditioning class where you would do back squat, dumbbell bench press, and hollow rocks, you could just as easily do back squat, cable flies, and hollow rocks. Right? You just work. Now, it's funny because in this stage, I don't know about you, Jane, but Craig and I, we were doing some cable flies back in the day.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? We were
well familiar with cables.
Getting at it. We were getting at that lat pull down back in the day.
Yeah.
You have people in your gym now who are like, "What's this?
What is this? How do you use this?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I don't know. How do you attach this thing to this thing?
Yeah.
You know
Where am I supposed to stand?
Right, exactly. And you watch them, and you're like, it's a tricep press down. You do it like this, and they're like this, and you're like, how do you not know how to do this? I mean, it's just a single hinge, right? Yeah. And so, but variety, fits into our mission, which is like we're trying to get people stronger and gain lean body mass. That's what we're trying to do. Fitness comes because you have that.
Yeah.
And they get done doing those tricep press downs the next day. They're like, oh shit, I feel that.
Side note, I've started to add those types of things to my program. We got a shoulder injury, but various different things. Just I don't like doing the mobility work. Jamie will tell you this.
No, he does not.
I just don't. I don't have the patience for it, but I do have the patience for behind the neck, tricep extensions. Where I'm having to get fully extended and hold that proper position. I love doing bicep curls, and all of those things have helped make me feel better in all of the joints that are affected by constant very functional movements at high intensity.
Yeah. I mean, that Marcus Philly did the functional bodybuilding thing. There it was. And then here comes Atia. Here comes Huberman. Here comes all the female physician fitfluencers saying, all right, everybody, you got to get stronger. You got to put this lean body mass on. We're not having it. We're not hearing it. We're not listening to you say, I don't want to get big and bulky.
Is your growth mindset that you have now, because I'm kind of getting that itch myself, is that growth mindset, do you think, being influenced by what you're seeing with respect to the influencers doing that talk, and then maybe demand for your business?
Sure. I think we're positioned. Where I felt the most lost was 2016 to 2020, because I was I don't know what to do. I'm feeling a little more headwind than tailwind.
It's fascinating.
My boat is kind of stalling and is here. It's not sinking. And the pandemic was a blessing in a way that as I've shared with you guys too last time, my mentor came in the beginning of the pandemic. He's like, this is awesome. I was like, I've lost 2 gyms. I'm down to 1. I'm hauling all of the equipment into the parking lot every morning. I'm looking for the awesome. I'm not seeing the awesome. He's like, no. You get to do whatever you want. Whatever you want. And I was like, that's terrible, because I don't have any idea. I'm doing what I have to do, not what I want to do. Well, once we started, to work, we took like pen on paper, like walking around thinking, like, what do I want to do? Being held accountable to make sure I was doing that thinking. What is the best thing for the business? But also, what do you want to do? Okay, this is what we believe in. Once again, here comes Atia. Here comes Huberman. Here comes this wave that I truly believe is the next 10, 12, 15-year wave.
That's what I think too.
I think that it's, people
1,000%.
like, I need to go to a place where I got to push a sled. I need to go to a place where I got to pick something heavy up off the ground and carry it from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I need someone to measure my lean body mass every 6 months and tell me how to make it better, or where I'm falling down in that area. Right. And that I have that same kind of chill, hair standing up in my arms that I had in 2008, 9, 10. I think that we're positioned for this whole thing. And it's now I think the job that we have is saying this is for you. But we've done that before. We did that already. We told 3rd grade teachers and grandparents and nurses and that this was a place for them. We did that back in 2010. Now messaging is a little different. The style of delivery is a little different, and but I think we're all positioned perfectly for it, honestly. So, but it'll be interesting. It'll be fascinating to see.
I do. There's part of me that, from a business education standpoint, that looked at CrossFit and how old it is, and thinking, we're at the end of the life cycle. We just, we keep riding this as long as we can, and just try and survive and keep a good core group of customers. But then I'm reminded that there are other businesses that have been through these types of cycles as well, that can be 10 to 15 years long. A growth cycle followed by a shrinking cycle, and then another growth cycle, basically a rebranding, if you will, repositioning to where they can grow. And I think CrossFit, as a result of the impact of the pandemic and the recognition that people have on the importance of health and longevity, coupled with an aging population, baby boomers and Gen X, they're the Gen X is in their 40s now and start in 40s and 50s, even early 50s. Right. And then the boomers are in their, late 60s and 70s and 80s. And then they're arguably the largest percentage of the population now is thinking about, oh shit, I'm not ready to die.
No.
Or I want to do more. I think the Gen X and the millennials think I want to be able to do more. I don't want to just sit on the couch. I want to be able to take that trip. I want to be able to do that hike. I want to be able to, be with my kids. I want to be able to, save my family if I need to save my family with something physical. Like all of those things I think are really, really prevalent today. I'm getting that sense. I hope it's just not user bias, but I get that sense online and social media and news and everything else, but especially the primary influencers and the books that people are showing up at the top of the bestseller list. This is a fucking great time to be in this business.
I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
I had I moved my kid to New York for the summer, and I got to go into a gym where I was, decades older than everybody else in this gym. I mean, it was like, and it's a gym I love to go to. I think they have 1 or 2 self-powered treadmills, maybe a rower, couple ski ergs, and just all strength equipment, just packed with, every machine and dumbbells and squat racks. And it's all Arsenal, which is this great equipment company out of plate loaded equipment company out of North Carolina, yeah. Rogue, all that stuff. And it was 20 to 26, 27-year-olds just crushing strength, just getting yoked, men and women, even number of people. I was the oddball just because of my age, right? And it was just people who that's what they were doing. So along with what you're saying, people within the older generations of being like, ooh, I think the medical industry is going to keep me around for a while. Like, I think I'm going to be alive longer than I thought. Mm-hmm. And it would suck to be in a hospital bed or a wheelchair or whatever it is. So I gotta forecast that and get after it. You have this next generation over the next 10 to 30 years who are coming up behind us in the Gen Z, Gen Alphas, who they're in.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell them. They're lifting heavy stuff. They're wanting to keep that going. And they're going to move to a city near you. They're going to move to a suburb near you, wherever you happen to be. Eventually, they're going to be there. And for you to be like, yeah, here we are. Come on in. You coming in with experience now. We don't have to teach you how to do this stuff. You've been doing it on Instagram, coaching yourself, or maybe getting some coaching. But that teen class you had out there that I just walked through, what, they're not going to keep doing this, right? They're going to be like, no, this is what I'm going to do.
And if you have within that, and I like the size of our gym as well. As soon as you start to get to Lifetime Fitness size gyms, and those serve a purpose. And the one over here in Walnut Creek, the new one, it's beautiful. It's got a whole functional fitness space that is just absolutely awesome. And they run classes, and what's great is they have childcare for people that want childcare. They also do a considerable amount of business in alcohol and food sales.
There you go.
But the beauty of where we are and why I enjoy who Diablo is today is that I know everybody out there that's on the floor. And for me as an owner, I have a kind of a kinship with everybody that's in this, a partnership with them. And that gives people something that they're also missing in their lives that there are less of today. There's less churches today.
Sure.
There's less, groups and organizations where people come together and meet on a common theme. The as my daughter called it, the third place, which is another thing I had to Google. there's less and less third places in your gym, like our gym, because in your the name that you have on your website, the social club, TJ's Fitness and Social Club, is perfect because that's. And I think now we can be bold enough to say that. I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago. I wouldn't have put social club up. No. I knew that's what this was.
Sure. Use the word community.
Yeah, use the word community. But I like the idea of a social club. And people will come, that class, everybody in that freaking 10 a.m. class knows everybody, all these teens. This one I'm right now is going on outside our doors, the teen class. And this is the teen misfits. This is the bad news bears out here. And they hang out together. These kids get together. They text each other. They hang out in front of the gym together he'll come in here, he'll probably interrupt this podcast, come in and get like the dodgeballs, and they play dodgeball together. But there are fewer and fewer places in society today where that can happen. And you can't manufacture a third place. Because I've thought about that with my daughter. I'm like, maybe we need to come up with something. But the CrossFit gyms, the small gyms, are the place where that happens, and people come in and then they stick to what they're doing. And that, again, combined with this growth and focus on health and fitness, represents a massive opportunity, I think, for gym owners.
Our Legends program, 65, it happens to be 65 to 82 is the group. There's 15 people, disparate people, who started coming to this program. They now come to the class on Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 a.m. in 3 cars.
Really?
Dude, that's
they're all carpooling together.
Because then afterwards they all go to coffee. Right. And this is 15 people, a couple of husbands and wives, but the rest of them just didn't know each other. Right. That's and awesome. Now this is the community.
Have you seen Khalifa's men's club thing that he's doing?
Yeah,
I went down to one, and it was, and I was like, oh, I've got to see what this is about. I went down there. It was like, I don't know, what was it, 25, 26 guys in a parking lot. It was doing burpees in a great gravelly parking lot with sandbags. And then afterwards, he says to me, he goes, Craig, come with us. And we're going to go, some of us are going to go get coffee just up the street. So I go, oh, okay, all right, I'll see. And I figured like 5 or 6 guys. All 26 guys were in that coffee shop. And we hung out for an hour, and they were all walks of life, like the venture capitalists, billionaires probably, to all the way down to me, the gym owner,
right.
But it was great. We sat and had a great time, and again, it was that for them, it was that outlet. 1, hard work. 2, coming together to share kind of a talk without a phone in between us.
Kenny Kane down in LA.
Oh yeah.
Tree of Life.
What a great guy.
Right. He started a men's group spin-off.
I didn't know that.
That is a substantial arm to his business now. Right. He has professionalized it. He's the right guy for the job. Right.
Yes,
he's at Orchard Park Fitness. Yeah. This is what he was built to do. Right. Yes, and he has this thing that he has spun out into this phenomenally successful thing with intention, right man for the job, like has done decades of research into bettering himself as a human being and now wants to share that skill set. So it's one of these things where if anybody's listening to this, they don't rush out and build these things. From people who've been down the road.
Back to our very original point.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Thank you. Listen to the first part of this podcast, please, if you're just now coming in.
You can know what your skill set is, find out from your community what they're looking for. Is it your center of excellence? Is it the best thing for the business? And then, if it's a passion project, do it, right? Give it a shot, fly it out there. Expect nothing in return from it. Just see if you're
Jason
the right
person. Doing
it
for free.
See if you're the right person, right person for the job. See if your community is into something like that, and give it a go, right? Just don't monetize it until you feel like maybe it's something that can be
value there.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't do the park thing. Craig, you did.
Yeah.
Let me throw some sandbags in the park. See if people show up.
We did a park in between Burn and me coming here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
park wads.
Yeah.
Park wads.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you're like, I don't know. Maybe it will,
Jeremy Teal did that down in CrossFit Central. That's how he kind of built his business.
Yeah.
He had boot camps all around Austin.
Low risk. Give it a go.
Risk, and a lot of those went on to become CrossFit affiliate owners. That
1,000%.
Yeah.
Spawned it. Right.
It's great. Kenny Kane, by the way, amazing guy. He was at our affiliate gathering we did down there about two months ago. Toward the Palisades, had everybody in the room in tears, telling his story, his experience.
I have been lucky enough. I was reached out to be part of a mastermind 2 weeks after the shutdown and the pandemic of gym owners. And we have had a weekly call since then. There's
wow.
Oh, wow.
There's 5 of us on this call.
That's great.
That it's part of that collaboration group, right? That people understand that you can share things with. Some of the guys in the group aren't in the fitness industry anymore. They've
even better
moved on, right?
Even better.
100%, because now they're free. They can comment and express things. They're now applying stuff that they learned into other areas. And some of us are still in it, and it's huge.
I would, if affiliate owners are listening, find your crew. Find a crew. 100%. That is super powerful.
I mean, BNR, it has a business built around it, right?
BNR,
business national something, right? These groups that get together, right?
Yeah.
You don't need that. You don't need that, right? There's people now. The world is your community that you can collect with people to be like, I need a group of people to bounce some stuff off of, right? I don't need to be signed up for something. I don't need to, but they're out there. They are available. And being on this island, this entrepreneurial island, it's a necessity to have a group that you can lean on when you need to. Which brings up a question to me that we talked about last time too. Future CrossFit.
Yeah.
Right. Now, once again, I want to reiterate for anybody who doesn't know me, I am not a CrossFit affiliate. I was for many years, haven't been
multiple
for many years.
CrossFit affiliates.
Yeah.
And I, we joked last time. It's like I peek in every once in a while, like checking on that X, like what are they up to? You know what I mean? So, where does it stand right now?
So they have put themselves, the private equity firm that owns them, that has a majority interest in them, Berkshire Partners, has put it out to a intermediary firm that specializes in the sale of assets like this. Berkshire is simply divesting themselves of the asset, and it really is that for them. So they're not selling CrossFit; they're divesting of this asset that they have. It is not known. The valuation of it is not known. The business itself has paid its own bills. But it is unlikely that it'll be a much higher valuation than what they paid for it. They've owned it for 5 years. Private equity usually doesn't go much longer than that. The list of players that have expressed interest to this firm that is essentially handling the transaction includes 3 different types of investors. One is more private equity firms, though the people that I've spoken to about it don't give high hopes for another private equity firm taking it, because private equity looks for 5x, 10x in a very short period of time. It would you and I know that it would be very difficult to extract that from this organization as it stands in that period of time. It's an unwieldy beast, this CrossFit thing, with the games, with the affiliates, and with the training department as the 3 primary revenue sources. The second group of investors represents sports fitness companies and similar organizations who see it as an opportunity to promote brand or take advantage of maybe the competition space for CrossFit. And then the third group of interested parties, and there apparently were quite a few people that expressed an interest and have looked in the data room, as they call it, where all of the went through the whole NDA process and everything else, and then are looking at the data room. But the third group is rich CrossFitters, wealthy CrossFitters, or CrossFitters that have access to a lot of money, that are passionate about CrossFit and want to own it and grow it their way. And apparently the people that are leading in terms of who might get it would be the last 2 that I mentioned, the rich CrossFitter and then the sports competition entities. And so it is expected that after the games, not too long after the games, that a new owner will be announced. They aren't going to do it before the games.
Okay. So it's going to be wrapped up by then.
It's expected to be wrapped up not too long after the games.
Okay.
So
I hope it's somebody with the long game.
Oh man.
with
Yes.
the going back to what we've been saying, where we're only making decisions that will be the best for the business.
Yes.
Not the return, not for shareholders, not for, I don't know. The corporate world is as foreign to me as anything else on the planet, but what diversified fitness entity has thrived, right? 24-hour fitness, right?
Yeah.
Anything else private equity has gotten involved with, any gyms, any fitness companies that have, taken on that and said, oh, look, we're looking to grow this thing and then unload it to the next guy. Which one? It's just not. Fitness is
Peloton is the last big one that went out there, and their stock almost went to zero after the initial public offering. It's rebounded a little since then. They get the pandemic boost, but then after that, it's just.
I listened to a podcast with the CEO of F45.
Yeah,
talking like it's the greatest comeback in the history of finance, and then you look at the stock, you're like, oh, that was a lie.
Yeah.
And I get it, that's your job, right? But
yeah,
I don't know. You have the one thing that CrossFit has in its favor is it still can be nimble. It still can be pliable and move for the better of its, for constantly having better quality, not quantity, right? So that's still there if that's the decision that the owners make.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that
let me ask you one question, Rose. It's going to go a little off topic. How are you on time, by the way?
Great.
Okay. Let me ask you one question, Rose, because I've thought about all the different outcomes for CrossFit and what, and as a lot of people have, as to, who the new owner may and what they might do to try and increase valuation. One of the things that I've lamented about CrossFit is the inconsistent user experience around the world. You can go to CrossFit in, some small town in America and get, an amazing experience. You can go to another one in, a different state or different country and then have an absolutely miserable experience. There's no consistency. And that is I think one of the weaknesses of an affiliate type program versus a franchise type program. That said, there are various different ways to maybe improve that experience globally through audits and other types of things that can allow them to rate or rank their affiliates or measure their affiliate experiences. One of the things that came across that flew across my idea table with people that I talked to was how about, and this is something I've thought of in the past, how about if CrossFit opened corporate stores in very important markets, say San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Dallas, Copenhagen, right? Paris, France. Open these corporate stores that set the example for the rest of the CrossFit community, still maintaining their affiliate program, but only opening these corporate stores that were the model businesses, populated with coaches and a passionate or vested, maybe even a vested owner or a vested director, if you will, in that location, similar to what maybe Chick-fil-A does, where the director of the location, those are all corporate owned stores, but the people that are in them are the operators are almost like franchise owners, if you will, but they don't own it. They're paid very well. And then they hire, key people in all of the roles. Can you conceive of an idea like that working? Maybe those are training centers, by the way, too, where you go get your level 1 or you go get your level 2.
Kind of like remote HQ sites.
Yeah, remote HQ sites. Well said. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. Why did the Reebok gyms fail?
Someone else said, Tim Dimmel said that to me. He goes, dude, Reebok did that.
Yeah. So,
and I don't know.
Is it maybe because they were more geared towards pushing Reebok?
Did they fail, or did they close them because of the failure of that relationship.
Who knows,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I do know that they were pretty, and once again, Kenny Kane, I think, would have an insight in this because I think that they were a little different. They handpicked some, I don't know at that time, some CrossFit celebrity type owners
coaches.
to be the figureheads of the different places. And I don't know how vetted those people were in running. And once again, Reebok was a little bit like CrossFit, like, we're going to throw some money behind you. We'll help you with the lease. We'll buy the equipment, all that stuff, and then hands off.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Right. And then it was like, okay, I don't know. I'm a good trainer. I don't know how to run
various
business,
games
right?
athletes.
I remember feeling a little animosity towards them too. Initially,
you're like, holy shit! Like everybody is outfitted in Reebok gear and free everything, and you're like, damn, But
that's a good question. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah.
Austin Maliolo was one. He had the one in Boston. I think
the people who would share their stories, I'm sure, are plentiful, right? Who are like, oh boy. But so here's another thought I had as you were presenting that. I think it's great. You do have. I think one of the things that they could do too is you have the ability to get a Michelin star or 2 or 3,
ranking it up.
like
you mentioned it,
blue
right?
check mark.
Now a great barbecue place on the side of the road in North Carolina is never going to get a Michelin star.
Yeah.
Right. But you're going to go there for that barbecue. But everybody knows about that place. They don't even have to do any marketing, right? They're not on Instagram. They're like, you come to Winston-Salem, you are going here for barbecue, right? There's that part of it too. There's that part of it where you can have that style of experience, right? Where you walk in and it's like you want to have the, what was Louis Simmons' gym called?
West Side.
You want to have a West Side experience? There's people looking for that.
Yeah.
That's great. You know what I mean? I think that I was listening to something, a CrossFit gym owner where Live Charlotte maybe was the name of his gym, home of CrossFit Steel River, whatever it was called. There's that aspect of it too, where you can not call yourself, this is Diablo as far as I'm concerned, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know at this point what CrossFit has to do with the success or failure of Diablo, right? And you have that ability to flex that as much as you want or not. But in the Michelin star ranking, I think people would look at that and go, oh, I'm going to have this CrossFit blessed experience at that type of place, right? Like the barbecue place is not going to get the Michelin star. Westside Barbell is not going to get the Michelin star of CrossFit per se. And that's fine. You have that ability to still run your own show, but be held to a certain standard or not. Totally up to you. I do like that ability to have shitty CrossFit gyms and good ones. I like that whole thing because maybe in Idaho where my buddy goes, he's like, they basically just write the workout on the board and you go in there and, people show up 15 minutes late. It's not really any coaching. And it works. People like to have that experience in that town.
Somebody might be looking for the type of freedom that works for them.
1,000%. I mean, thank God my business model is a totally different animal than 5 years ago.
Yes.
Completely, like the revenue streams and what we offer and all the different ways and that nimbleness and that flexibility and that, ability to do my thing. I think that's part of what's going to actually keep CrossFit going.
Dude, you nailed it. And that's why I think the franchise model hasn't worked for others, right? Because they didn't have that flexibility, the nimbleness. It was like, this is what you teach, this is how you teach it, this is the class you run, and it doesn't change.
5,000-7,000 locations across the world.
Yeah.
How are you going to get people to fall in fitness?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where all of a sudden the trend has changed. Oh, we're not doing for time. We're doing more for lean body mass gain. Oh, we're doing it more for strength. We're doing it.
In each demographic within a CrossFit is just so different. The guys, my buddy Derek over at CrossFit Mab Lab, he's reaching a different clientele.
Well, you told me last time about Europe.
Yeah.
It's 2012 in Europe right now.
Yeah.
right? 300, 500 members lined out the door, multiple locations. She told me about that restaurant that they have in the middle of the gym. I mean, like that, I could see that happening around here in 2010, 11, 12, 13. You know,
he said we
talked about it.
Craig, if you're going to do this, you must have experience in restaurants. Do not do this unless you know how to run a restaurant.
100%.
Noted.
Yeah. Yeah. How many CrossFit brewers and coffee makers do we know? Like we said last time, right? Too many.
There were
too many.
Man, we all had those ideas. Oh my God.
Should have done laundromats and car washes. Yeah.
I don't think there's any CrossFit gyms that have successfully able to do like protein shakes after the workout.
Oh my gosh.
I remember Barry's Boot Camp was in that. And I remember reading an article. It's like Barry's Boot Camp uses the shake as the trigger. Like, so people come in and they work out and then they have their shake waiting for them at the end. And I remember reading that going, that's brilliant. We'll have people at Diablo come in, they'll order their shake, they'll come out and the shake will be waiting for them. 5,000 calories, by the way.
Right.
It's kind of like that one affiliate in North Carolina. I think it was Concord. They had this ice cream shop up front, and their affiliate was in the back.
Oh, that's right. Oh
but
my
they
God,
had
where was that?
really good protein shakes in the front.
It's fat free. What could be wrong?
That's funny. So I remember that.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most memorable affiliates I'd ever visited.
Yep.
You walk in, it's like this is a ice cream parlor. You walk through the back doors, like to the back, and it's like a whole gym.
What about the ones that were being attached to like hospitals and rehab centers? There was a thing of that going on for a while.
Yeah. And there's Tom McCoy, just who the guy who runs CrossFit Medical, just talked about one it's a big one, a big hospital system in Ohio that has it. Like,
it's happening.
Yeah, it's a big part of what they're doing. But I don't know how the other ones that back in the day, if they're still there, if they're still going.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough because
it's business. If you have to, this is what I tell affiliate owners all the time. You have to keep your foot on the gas.
100%.
Dude, every time I let up the gas a little bit, just kind of like get comfortable. Like that's when like, oh God darn it.
Yeah. You gotta be. Yeah. What is this world going to look like in 2030, 2035? Yes. And then it's not your responsibility to know. It's your responsibility to ask everybody on the planet what they think and try to forecast it, be ready for it, know that it's not going to be what it is now.
That's right.
To know those things.
Be prepared to spend the money to get the Rogue Strength
100%
gear to, replace my rowers, to switch out my stupid assault bikes. They're great bike, an individual at home, you got them great, but for as a gym bike,
they're using a wrench a lot.
No, I had to swap them out and get rows because it was just constantly fixing them. They're constantly broke because they couldn't handle commercial use. But like those, like you get, and then to write those checks, it's hard. If you don't have the cash and if you haven't saved for that event, like that's the stuff that can bring your business down or just put you in a kind of this slow tailspin that's gonna, and flaming out somewhere.
My business partner, my wife, all the credit to her. I feel like I have to bring a pitch deck, all my homework dialed in, why this is my decision making, where it's coming from, how it's getting paid for. No, there will not be a financial return on this, but the return will be in the, retention of and all this stuff, because she's going to ask me really smart, really hard questions that other people maybe won't, because they just want to see me be happy.
Yeah.
They want to see me succeed. And
that's right.
You need that person in your life.
You do. My wife narrows it down all the way down to one question. What the fuck is this for? Why? Remind me again why we're spending this. You want to spend this?
Yeah.
But that's true. That is super helpful because without her, I've got 10 locations that have closed.
Yeah.
And I'm still working in the investment industry, trying to pay off,
running in the door,
pay off the debts,
pulling your suit off. Hang on, guys, I'll be right there.
To pay the debts, all the money I borrowed to do those 10
because I'm the only staff member. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Jamie's like, I don't think I want to get involved.
Just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. TJ and I are married to the same woman.
Thankfully.
Yep.
Thankfully.
Yep. Well, you guys, listen, we've gone almost an hour and 30. Actually,
hour 40.
Hour and 40. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Thank you
back.
for coming back.
I love it.
And I was excited about it because this discussion is a little bit of my therapy. I enjoy this discussion because it validates things I'm thinking about. It also opens my mind to think about other things as an affiliate owner. Make sure you find that person, you guys.
It's like this
or
is
those
just
people.
It's like this is just a big collaboration session.
Yeah.
It is, and
Yeah,
that's really what we're trying to do with this podcast.
Little uncomfortable,
Yep.
little agreements, a little like hearing things you don't want to hear. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Yep.
The best part, right? So I appreciate you guys having me. This is a wonderful thing you're putting out there.
I'll share all this, all the various different links to this with you later today.
Awesome.
Right on, dude.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Until next time.